What's up everyone, Future Drew here coming to you after I just finished recording the entire video, and literally 15 minutes after I finished recording, Disney decides to announce that Disney Springs will begin a phased reopening on May 20th. So if you hear me mention Disney Springs throughout the rest of this video, that's because I recorded it before they announced the opening date of Disney Springs. So sorry about that, but anyways, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. What's going on everyone? Welcome back to another video here on Drew the Disney Dude. I know you're thinking, where have you been these past couple months? And to be honest, I just got lazy not wanting to make videos without Walt Disney World being open. I usually like filming there and I was just getting not motivated to make stuff. But now that we have some news, I am back now. So make sure to keep an eye out on the channel for more uploads going forward. And today we do have a few topics to talk about. But first, if you haven't already seen the video of the relaxing drive-through tour of Walt Disney World with no cars, completely empty because the resort is closed right now, make sure to watch that one after you watch this video. The link will be in the description down below. But today, like I said, we have a few topics to talk about, starting off with what construction is going on at Disney, like the future of construction. We got some stuff from Bob Chapek on the Disney Q2 earnings call for 2020. We're also going to be talking about Shanghai Disneyland and some procedures we might be seeing here at Walt Disney World when the parks reopen, so let's get into it. A few days ago on May 5th, Disney held their Q2 earnings call for 2020, and the first topic I want to talk about is the future of construction and refurbishments at the US Disney parks. On March 16th, the day after the Disney parks closed here in the US, all of the construction and refurbishments stopped. They came to a halt. So no work has been going on since the parks closed, but thankfully on the call, we did get some good info from new Disney CEO, Bob Chapek.
We had a lot of really big plans in the parks, and we still continue to have big plans. Those good ideas before COVID are going to be really good ideas after. And as Christine said in her opening remarks, there are certain, trimmings that we're doing here and there to be responsible from a financial standpoint. But we have such great intellectual property, and our Imagineers over at our theme parks, where the majority of our capital goes, have done such a tremendous job of planning out future experiences for our guests that we're just going to go ahead and take a slightly finer tooth comb, if you will, through those expenditures, but essentially plan on, investing behind those businesses like we always have.
So, as you just heard from new Disney CEO Bob Chapek, he just mentioned that they still have big plans for the parks. They want to invest in the ideas that the Imagineers have already pitched, and that those ideas will be even better when the parks reopen, which is very true, because people aren't going to necessarily want to go to the parks right after a pandemic, but if there's new things that might motivate them to come back. And we also just got some brand new details out of Disneyland today that work is going to be resuming on Avengers Campus and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. At Avengers Campus, it's going to be very minimal work, being that they're just protecting the site from the weather. But for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, steel deliveries will be happening. So even though it's not a ton of work, it's still good that work is resuming there and that those projects are moving forward. Chapek also mentioned on the call that there will be some trimmings and that they will be moving through the projects with a fine-tooth comb. But let's be real, Disney is a company and they have to be smart right now with how much money they're losing with the parks being closed. So we don't know exactly what changes will be happening or if any projects will be canceled. But if we learn any of those specific details, I'll be sure to share with you guys in a future video. Also mentioned on the call is that Disney will be saving $900 million this fiscal year, which lasts through September 26, 2020, by pausing construction and refurbishments. This means that Disney was originally planning on spending $400 million more this year than they did last year before the parks closed. And while it is disappointing that most major construction likely won't resume until Disney's next fiscal year begins, it does make sense that Disney does not want to spend money on these projects at the parks when they have no revenue coming in from the parks. So hopefully once Disney starts making money again from the parks, they'll start construction again. And in my opinion, this is a perfect opportunity for Disney to resume construction on Walt Disney World's 49th birthday, October 1st, 2020. It could be a great marketing opportunity to be like, hey, today's Walt Disney World's birthday, and to celebrate, we have resumed construction on these projects. And before we get into our next topic, I did want to mention that some minor construction is still happening at Walt Disney World. Not major construction, just some work on the entrances of all the parks. BioReconstruct uploaded some aerial photos yesterday on Twitter, so shout out to BioReconstruct for these photos. But in this photo, you can see that the right side of the Epcot entrance, a lot of work has still gone on. A lot of the pavement, which was not there whenever Epcot closed in mid-March, that was pretty much just all dirt whenever Epcot closed. But you can see that there's now pavement there, so work is still happening there. Hopefully that is all done by the time Epcot reopens. And you can also see behind Spaceship Earth, where the Mickey floral and the grass used to be, that area has all been ripped up now. So I don't know if you guys remember from D23 Expo, there was a piece of concept art showing a new building behind Spaceship Earth, and it's very interesting that this area has been ripped up. Maybe that project is still moving forward, maybe it's not, we don't know for sure, but definitely interesting that that area has been ripped up. And there's also been some more work that's happened at the Magic Kingdom entrance and the Animal Kingdom entrance, so hopefully those areas will all be done by the time Disney reopens out here. Next topic I want to talk about is that we got an article from the Disney Parks Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Pamela Heimel, talking about some things that they are exploring right now regarding what they are going to do when the parks reopen. Keep in mind that these are just options that they are exploring right now, and chances are when the parks officially reopen, there will be some changes, but let's take a look at this article. Starting off, that they mention a phased reopening. This likely means that Disney Springs will reopen first as a test, so they can get their training wheels off, as Bob Chapek mentioned on the call, before the rest of the parks open. And this is actually the same exact thing that happened over at Shanghai Disneyland, and that'll actually be our next topic, so don't worry, I have not forgotten about Shanghai Disneyland. But Disney Town over at Shanghai opened in early March, and we now know that Shanghai will be opening on May 11th, so they tested Disney Town, and now they're opening the park with some of those measures that they tested Disney Town with. Next in the article, it mentions physical distancing and capacity measures. So right now, they're going to have a 30% max capacity at Shanghai. And Bob Chapek also mentioned on the call that Shanghai's capacity before everything happening right now was 80,000 people. And we know that after everything, when Shanghai reopens on May 11th, that the most amount of people they can have in Shanghai is 24,000, which is 30%. So we might be seeing a 30% max capacity here at Walt Disney World. And also, they mentioned the use of virtual queues, which remember, a My Queues section was added to My Disney Experience right after the parks closed. So we might be seeing an expanded use of virtual queues. Also, given that Disney has been using the virtual queues for Rise of the Resistance for a few months now, so they know that system and they can implement that to multiple attractions very easily. They also mentioned cleanliness and sanitization, which is pretty self-explanatory. They'll be wiping down the rails and the queue lines, lap bars on the attractions. You guys get that. They also mentioned screening and prevention support, which over at Shanghai, masks will be required from cast members and guests. So chances are when Walt Disney World reopens, we might be seeing masks being required. And also hand sanitizer stations and hand wash stations, which Walt Disney World and Disneyland also had before the parks closed. But those will be back, probably going to be a lot more of them, maybe at the entrance to rides and exit rides. That would make sense. And last but not least, we have cast member training, which, remember, this is new to cast members as well, so chances are they'll test this at Disney Springs, and then whenever the parks reopen, they'll implement those measures, so things go pretty smooth. And last but not least for today's video, I want to talk some more about Shanghai Disneyland. I know we just talked about it a little bit, but there is some more news regarding it, so here's the announcement from Disney CEO Bob Chapek on the reopening date.
We are seeing encouraging signs of a gradual return to some semblance of normalcy in China. And in light of the lifting of certain restrictions in recent weeks and the successful reopening of our park-adjacent retail and food and beverage area, Disney Town, we and our government partners, Shanghai Shendi Group, plan to open Shanghai Disneyland on May 11th.
So there you heard it. Shanghai Disneyland, the first park to close in late January, will now be the first to reopen on May 11th. Obviously with a lot of guidelines in place, but it is still awesome that it's reopening. And if you remember earlier, I mentioned the capacity, how before everything it was 80,000 and now it's 24,000. Disney also confirmed that they will gradually be increasing to 24,000 over the first few weeks. And we also learned that when the park reopens, there aren't going to be any parades, any fireworks, the kids' play areas are also going to be closed, and that indoor theaters are going to be closed. And if you're wondering what some of the requirements are to get into Shanghai Disneyland, once it reopens, they're going to be using a phased approach, just like we talked about earlier from that Disney Parks blog article, starting off with limits on attendance, how 24,000 will be the max, and they're gradually increasing to that over the first few weeks. They're also going to have an advanced reservation and entry system, controlled guest density using social distancing, and strict government-required health and prevention procedures. So that's just some of the requirements to get into Shanghai Disneyland, but enjoy this video of some of the cast members preparing the resort for its reopening. Alright everyone, that's new for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed any part of this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like on this video. Greatly supports the channel and only takes a couple seconds. And don't forget to subscribe if you are new here for more Disney videos in the future. Also, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of all this. Definitely curious to hear you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.